The Daredevil Born Again trailer was released, and the hype was real for like a week, and then the showrunner had to open his mouth. In an interview with SFX, the showrunner for Daredevil Born Again, Dario Scardapane, I think, I don't know, was explaining the differences between the original Netflix show and the new Daredevil show. And when explaining these differences, he says some outlandish things. Take a listen.
There is more fun in the moments with these characters and a lot less navel-gazing than before. The earlier show, at its best, was fantastic. At its worst, it was two characters in a room talking about what a hero is. I felt that had been done. I'm not taking swipes. I just didn't want to hear characters grousing about their lot in life. I wanted to see them doing things. I really feel that Netflix's Daredevil, which I know in my blood, was much more noir, and this show is more New York crime story. It has elements of The Sopranos and King of New York. There's a feeling for those classic 90s crime tales. It has a pace and a scope that, for a lot of reasons, Netflix wasn't able to do. They were very dark, cinematically, not necessarily story-wise, although there were some dark elements. We're much darker.
And yeah, reading this quote, the showrunner sounds like an idiot. When I first read the headline, though, I thought he was complimenting the original show, saying that, at its worst, the show had amazing dialogue. But nah, he definitely insulted the Netflix original, even if he claims he didn't. Now, this interview, and this question in particular, was supposed to build hype for the new show. Because when answering the same question, he explains how the Netflix show was a noir show, and the new one, his, is more of a New York crime story. And I don't know why Dario just didn't say this instead of taking a shot at the original series, because oh my goodness, so many people are dragging him and ragging him for this comment. Mostly Twitter, but Twitter rags on everyone, so that's nothing new. But everyone is now worried about the show's quality after one little comment. But for me, in my opinion, people are ignoring far bigger issues that should worry you way more about the new Daredevil show. Now, I am always of the belief to wait for the full release of a project to give your full opinions, but I also think that your expectations shouldn't be high and should be grounded. I'm still optimistic and hopeful that the new show will be good because Daredevil is my favorite superhero, but there are so many things that are saying otherwise. Starting with the showrunner. If this show sucks, we know who to blame. Let's get the obvious out of the way. What Dario said in the SFX interview was ridiculously stupid. Saying that the worst part of the Netflix show was the characters talking about what a hero is just idiotic. One of my favorite episodes of the series, and one of the best reviewed episodes on IMDb, was in season 2, and it was episode 3, which is titled New York's Finest. And this episode's best part is just Daredevil and Punisher talking about the differences on being a hero. The scene of Daredevil and Punisher talking about the moral dilemma of killing is way better than anything Marvel has produced in the last 5 years. And for the showrunner to, in a way, insult this aspect of the show is really telling and even more concerning. Dario's comments made about the original show isn't even the most concerning thing surrounding the showrunner. Nah, it's his previous work on The Punisher. Now, I like The Punisher show. I think it's actually pretty good. But the problem is that the show doesn't portray an accurate Punisher. The Punisher Frank Castle portrayed in the show isn't like the one in the comics, or even in season 2 of Daredevil. Frank Castle in the Punisher show acts like the other heroes rather than the real genuine Punisher. Godzilla Mendoza made a really good video describing what I'm saying. Either way, Dario's last work on the Punisher was good, but wasn't loyal to the real character. To give Dario the benefit of the doubt, Dario wasn't the showrunner or even a director on the Punisher series, but he was an executive producer and has written an episode for the Punisher. And I wouldn't be talking about his past work on the Punisher if he didn't bring it up in every single interview promoting Born Again. And even though I do like the Punisher show, it wasn't an accurate Punisher. So if Dario keeps bringing up his work on the Punisher, or he couldn't copy the Punisher from the comics or even from season 2 of Daredevil, why should I trust him? Why should I trust him with other characters? Now, this is probably my weakest point, but it has to be said. Marvel's previous TV shows haven't been the best. Ignoring all the animated shows and just focusing on the live action shows, Marvel has only really made two good shows. Maybe three. But either way, all their other shows are either really average or just really bad. And I would say the worst parts of the shows are the part that Marvel struggles on the most, are the endings. In my opinion, the only good Marvel TV show finale was for both the Loki seasons. Like for example, Hawkeye. Hawkeye throughout the show had this long build up for the big bad, which was Kingpin. And as a fan, it was cool to see the theories every week as the episodes came out. But as soon as Kingpin was revealed, the last episodes and the finale felt super rushed and unsatisfying. Same thing with WandaVision. The build up and theories week by week as the episodes came out was fun and made the show even more entertaining. But then again, the finale felt rushed and unsatisfying. And don't get me wrong, I like WandaVision, but just not the finale. In contrast, every Daredevil season finale was great. My favorite episode of the entire series was New Napkin, which is the very last episode of Daredevil. And I do think, and I hope, that Born Again ends well. But Marvel keeps and been struggling with the ending of the shows. And speaking of previous Marvel shows, let's talk about Echo. Echo was god awful, let's be real. And when promoting Echo, Marvel keeps saying that this is a much darker and much grittier show. They also showed Daredevil in the trailer, and we knew Kingpin was going to be involved in the show somehow. So when promoting Echo, it felt like Marvel was trying to appeal to the Daredevil audience and fans. And the fans that want a show like Daredevil. Marvel is basically telling the fans, hey guys, this new show is dark and grittier and has Daredevil and Kingpin in it. And yeah, Echo ended up sucking. Like it was like really bad. As good as Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin is, he couldn't carry the show on his back. And Daredevil was barely in the show. And just because the show has a little bit of gore doesn't make it good. I mean, that's pretty obvious to say. But I don't think Marvel knows this. I honestly believe that Marvel thinks the only reason fans love Daredevil was because of the gore and violence. Like, guys, there's blood, just like Daredevil. Like, Echo didn't use its TVMA rating properly. I couldn't honestly edit. I could honestly edit the show to be PG-13. In contrast, Daredevil had darker themes and storylines, not just gore. Daredevil used its rating to good effect, and it wasn't just for gore. They used it perfectly. So why am I talking about the ratings of the shows? It's because Born Again was rated 18 plus in the UK, which in comparison, every single Deadpool movie had an age rating of 15 in the UK. So by the sounds of it, the show's about to pop off. And Twitter was blowing up saying that this show's about to be crazy. And to be fair, it is intriguing that the show is rated so high. But to me, it is also concerning. For the same reason that Echo didn't need a TVMA rating. My biggest concern is that Daredevil Born Again will be gory and bloody, but without any substance. I don't want to see Daredevil. I don't want to see gore in Daredevil Born Again just because it's cool. Add substance to it. Don't just have a shock scene just for shock value. Make me care about what's happening. And now that I was a downer for the whole video, I think it's time to talk about reasons you should be excited for the show. Because even though there are legit concerns surrounding the show, I do also think it's good to be optimistic. Starting with the comics that the show is taking inspiration and elements from. For example, the show seems to be taking a lot of elements from the Charles Soule run of Daredevil, which in my opinion is actually really underrated when talking about Daredevil comics. Yeah, Soule's run did have a few bad elements, but overall it's really good, and it does seem like the show is taking the good elements of the Soule run. One of the main villains of the new show is Muse, who comes from the Soule run, and Muse is such a good villain for the Daredevil show. Muse is basically a serial killer who uses the remains of his victims to create art. And he does have powers, but from everything it seems like Muse doesn't have powers in the show. But either way, good and compelling character. Also, Kingpin is the mayor in the show, which is also in the Charles Soule run. Another comic run that the show seems to be taking elements from is Chip Zdarsky's, which I am a big fan of, and it is very good. And yeah, the last arc does go downhill a little bit, but the run overall is still really good. Cole North, a character from Chip Zdarsky's run, is in the show, and I actually really do like his character in the comic. And the trailer does, and the trailer, Daredevil seems to have made a mistake, which could possibly be killing someone by accident. And this does happen in Zdarsky's run. And and also, the show is called Born Again, So you already know that the show is probably going to have some elements from Frank Miller's run, which is about to go crazy. Additionally, the showrunner, good old Dario, confirmed that Born Again will ignore the other MCU projects that happened in the past. So the show likely won't mention that Daredevil and She-Hulk got down and dirty, and hopefully won't mention Kingpin's involvement in Echo. Ignoring the greater MCU in Born Again is great because it's like the original series. Yeah, in the Netflix show, they did mention the Battle of New York a couple times, but that's the only thing they really mentioned. Most people don't even think it's in the MCU, the original Netflix show. And if they go this route in Born Again, it will make the show feel more separate from the MCU. And judging by the current state of the MCU, is a good thing. The showrunner also mentioned that some cameos are going to happen in the show, but I don't think the cameos are going to be like Thor or like Star-Lord or some people like that. I think the characters we're going to see are people like Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. Not you. I mean, hopefully they cameo, it would be cool. Another thing, and probably the biggest thing that makes me hopeful for the new show, is that they rehauled the original Born Again show. If you guys weren't aware, the Daredevil Born Again show that we're getting is basically a second attempt at this show. Because before the writing strikes happened, they were actually filming Born Again. And then when the strikes happened, Marvel realized that this show isn't it. So they overhauled the whole show. And from what I heard about the original show that was supposed to happen, we dodged a bullet. It was described as a goofy lawyer show and apparently didn't include Karen or Foggy, which is just crazy. In the same FXX interview, where the showrunner roasted the Netflix show, he and Charlie Cox both said that the original Born Again show wasn't what Daredevil was established to be. And this is honestly great. I think that this is very good for Marvel, the showrunner, and the actors to look at the original idea for the show and realize that it's not good. And more importantly, it's not what Daredevil fans want. Now, I'm not saying you should be worried for Born Again just to be negative. Nah. I'm saying that you should be worried so you won't have high expectations. Like if the show sucks, I don't want to see people be shocked because from the looks of it, there is a chance it could suck. But there's also a chance it could be good. I'm still very optimistic that the show will be good, and I'm gonna watch with an open mind, not with a negative mindset. Let's just all hope, have a prayer circle that Daredevil Born Again is good.